Good morning, it's 7:33 now, and you're listening to Rouser Radio out of Lewes, East Sussex, directly from the White Hart Hotel. I'm Keith Hayes, and with my usual controversial views, with you for the next 3/4 of an hour. Then we give way to our sister television station, Mirador Television, with Max Hurd and Stuart Dolby. In the meantime, I should tell you that it's the 15th of June in the year 2022. It's going to hit 24 outside today. Pretty damn hot. Only a light breeze. Just a little bit of cloud around about noon, but that's all. There you are, Ben Sound Buddy, and introduction to each morning, each weekday morning before television kicks in at 8:30. Just a little bit of soupçon, a little bit of music, a little bit of chat, a little bit of ranting and raving, and a little bit of bringing your news up to date. And of course, the big news on the papers this morning, the top headlines are that the plane that was supposed to take asylum seekers to Rwanda was grounded last night at the last minute on the basis of some European legislation, some European judges, the European Court of Human Rights, I think it's called, which is designed to protect the rights of those in charge of the EU and not much else. And it is very sad. There are two things that are very sad. First of all, some left-wing papers, or I shouldn't say left-wing, but left-of-centre newspapers are triumphal in the government has been defeated. Priti Patel has not managed to get these people to Rwanda. What deep institutional racism they describe. Rwanda. If it was Scotland, they wouldn't be making anywhere near as much fuss. Nowhere near as much fuss. But it's Rwanda, you see, it's Rwanda. And nobody really has kept an eye on Rwanda since the genocides of 20 or 30 years ago. But it has become one of the jewels of Africa. It's become a modern, I shouldn't say industrial, but economic entity on the African continent. The hotel that these people are going to be sent to is a tourist hotel. Really very nice place. And as I understand it, they were going to get free booze there. But oh no, we can't do that. It is dreadful. It's their human rights because they're being sent to Rwanda. What have we got against Rwanda? Because it's Black Africa. That's what we've got. And that's what this court has decided and has, in representing us, given us, like the lemmings, mass discrimination. And it's outrageous. And it's disgusting. But it just shows how deeply seated racism is. You can bend the knee. You can yell and shout and do all sorts of things on the periphery. You can march. You can carry your placards. But you don't really mean it. What you mean is we need a nice, safe haven to express opposition to discrimination. But the fact that we're quite willing to do it at a flick of a switch, that's different. It doesn't apply to us. Oh, no. The human rights issue is, what human rights? Why weren't these people incarcerated in France by this court? Because that's where they came from. They came through France. They arrived here, and we come up with a solution for it. And our solution is we're going to send them to Black Africa. Oh, that's a whole different kettle of fish, isn't it? A whole different kettle of fish. And yet I have looked at this from every angle. All I can tell you is that in getting angry about Black Africa just shows that we are discriminatory, because we didn't get excited about not black France, not black other European countries, not black Mediterranean. No, we didn't. We didn't, because you see, they were broadly white. And it's absolutely disgusting that this institutional racism, which blights our society, comes surging out the moment that the liberals want to show how liberal they are and how good they are and how decent they are. They don't mind then bowling over another country. Why? Because of its race. That's right, because of its race. Appalling. Anyway, the other thing that's appalling is we still, and throughout the world, we still are subject to laws which have nothing to do with us. Now, let me go through some of the organizations, or a couple anyway. The United Nations, discredited. The Americans refuse often to give their contribution because it is so weighted in favor of people who are anti-American. And if you've ever worked, and I have, so don't come to me and say you don't know what you're talking about, Keith. I've worked in several countries where the United Nations is it is a useless bloody organization. And actually, the only thing that I remember very clearly about the United Nations is that when they had their forces, is they put them into the sort of uniform that the French police use, so they look absolutely terrifying, and march them down the street to put fear of God into the local people. Other than that, they are a bureaucratic mess. They have no idea why they're there, and yet wield all sorts of power. Well, I don't think that that's very good for democracy. I don't think it's very good for the development of a civilized world. I don't think it's very good, full stop. And while the principle of the United Nations, once again, it looks very good on paper, in practice, it is horrendous, absolutely horrendous. And as for the EU, it doesn't matter whether you're for Brexit or not Brexit. I'm as anxious for this country to be part of Europe as anybody else. But I also don't want us to be part of the present EU, which is, to say the least, authoritarian. And to say the worst, is actually dictatorial. And those are the people that have just grounded this aircraft that was about to take a few people, because lots had been saved by the legal challenges of human rights. We've got to get, states have got to take back their own authority. And the strange thing is the EU is a federation. And what does that federation do? It flies in the face of every successful federation in the world, the United States, Canada, Australia, certain parts of Africa. It flies in the face of their success to set up a system which calls for huge power at the centre and very little in the constituent parts. Whereas those other federations I just mentioned are exactly the opposite. Very little power and control at the centre. Only those things which are impossible to do for the individual states, and a lot of authority for the constituent parts. Why do the Europeans do this? It's because basically it is run by a bunch of people who want power. They want control. And we happily go along with that. The liberal element says, oh, the EU. And who actually got so upset about it is they want to be contained and controlled and dictated to by this sort of organisation. Once again, I've worked for the EU. I've worked in countries where the EU is prevalent. What a bunch of idiots they are. They, and as for corruption, patronage, well, you can't make it up. You really can't. And yet we all want to be part of that. And when we allow judges to tell us how we should run our own country, maybe our own judges would have made this decision. But who knows? Because they didn't get the opportunity. Well, in fact, they did. They actually approved the flight. They said there was nothing illegal about it. But no, there is a group of people who are not located in these islands who work within the framework of a discredited organisation. And when they say jump, everybody jumps. It's got to stop. We can't go on like this. We can't go on like this. We have got to get the whole structure of international relations, international makeup of governance workable and right. And we've got to send packing these people who have created a bureaucratic nightmare. And you know, the funny thing is, at one time I said, well, if they would reform, if you want to swear in the halls of the EU, or for that matter, any government organisation, our own is just as bad. If you really want to swear, what you do is you say reform, and immediately you have said a naughty, naughty word. Reform? Certainly not. They are not going to reform because they've got a system that is too easy for them to stuff their pockets, to look after their friends and their family, to interfere in governance that is far beyond their remit and far beyond their understanding. That's the sort of world we have created. And if somebody doesn't start to actually unravel it and unpick it, you know, I'm not a Boris fan as such. But I'm beginning to think that every time he tries to do something, when all the negative people say, no, 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 you can't do that, but without any good reason why you can't do that, is I begin to warm to the guy. As it is often said, if you do nothing, nothing gets done. And that's what politicians rely upon. They do nothing, nothing gets done, and everybody thinks that they're absolutely wonderful. Well, here's a guy who is trying hard to look at some of the problems we have in this country and to do something. And every time he does, there are those people there who try to thwart him. Well, I'll tell you, if my vote is cast for somebody who tries to thwart some of the things that this government has tried to do, is that then it will go to the far left or the far right. Because they're the only people that I know who will actually boot ass. Yeah. Oh, I've had a wonderful time ranting and raving this morning. Let's go to ukulele, as we often do at this time of the morning. Oh, Ben Sound and ukulele. Lovely little ditty that. I quite like that. And we normally play that about this time of the morning, 7:50, on the 15th of June, 2022. And outside, it's going to reach 24 today. Wow, 24. That's pretty hot. And it's going to get hotter. So do be careful when you go out there. Don't bare your head. Don't bare anything. Be very careful and make sure that you've got access to plenty to drink. And don't get fooled by thinking, well, my skin isn't doesn't seem to be burning terribly much, only to find that later in the day you are as red as a lobster, and it could be actually sold to surf and turf. Hi, hi, hi. Right, okay. Um, let's look at the papers. I've had my lunch. I'll have my biscuit. I'll have my cup of coffee. And is that the way to perfection? Well, yes, it's on the way to perfection. Well done, the crowd. Uh, looking at the papers, the Metro, I think it's the Metro, yes, the Metro is Rwandan air farce. Uh, it actually it doesn't make any comment, at least not on its front page, as to whether they approve or disapprove or whatever. Uh, but it does say that the flight came within 30 minutes of taking off and then was grounded by a court of judges hundreds of miles away, and who are based in a country that keeps on sending these people and allowing them to get into little boats, perilous boats, and set out across. The closest point is 21 miles. But if they're heading to our part of the world, and my colleague Max, who will host this morning's television program, is he was in Brighton, and just by the pier, and suddenly a boatload of migrants appeared. So that's a 75, 80-mile journey across one of the heaviest shipping lanes in the world. And that little boat is costing them thousands. The people who actually ship them make an agreement with them to be paid back at exorbitant rates of interest for the money that they spend on getting here, and we actually then put them up when we've got our own social problems with housing and so on. No wonder, no wonder we're in a mess. But I reiterate, the only bloke that we've had recently who has said, let's do something about it is Boris. Okay, buffoon. No, he's not a buffoon. Let's not get carried away with that. He may have some strange ideas. He may actually be rather dismissive of some democratic processes. But the fact is that the guy is trying to do something, and every time he does, somebody puts something in the way and then says, look how stupid that was. Well, a lot of his ideas aren't stupid. And if we gave him a chance, perhaps what we would do is we'd be improving our community, our society. Oh, but goodness gracious me, we don't elect people to do that. God only knows. No, we actually elect them to pay them a large amount of money to sit on their fat asses up in Westminster and tinker around the edges. And then when they feel that they want to be righteous, to get righteous, while they keep on picking up perks worth thousands and thousands and thousands. And that's what we know about. The number of people that are consultants being paid a hefty amount of cash. And then there's something called the Register of Members' Interests. Yeah. Oh, I forgot to put my interest in there. Didn't know I'd get caught. Okay. I'm having a lovely morning this morning, being a dissident. The Mirror. What a cruel farce. Uh, what a cruel farce, says the Daily Mirror. As the Tory government of immoral, immoral stunt at the cost of 500,000 to the taxpayer. And the Mirror, an immoral. I never thought of the Mirror, which always was a respectable paper representing broadly the working class people. I never thought of it as being institutionally racist, but it is. Immoral to send people to Rwanda? Do they know anything about Rwanda? No, they do not. They know nothing. And yet they are willing to take this stance of, oh, how immoral it is. They sound like the bloody Archbishop of Canterbury, who is so out of touch with everything that one wonders how he holds his position. But of course, once you're there, it's very difficult to get you out. What paper is this? The Daily Mail. Euro court grounds jet to Rwanda. And the paper shows on its front page a big tanker with one of these little boats dangerously close to being swamped. And it says, where is the humanity in this? Court of Human Rights. It is outrageous, and it is. This should be the trigger to get rid of these dreadful people who are so far out of touch with the realities of life. What do I know about the realities of life? Well, let me tell you something. On my way to being a journalist, I was a prison guard. I was a milkman. I was a labourer on the Trans-Canada Highway. I was one or two other things as well. I was a cigarette salesman at one stage when it was still popular. So I get a decent understanding of what life is about and how people feel and the pressures that they're under. Do these judges? No, they do not. They come through academia. They come through a very narrow tunnel in which they are persuaded that they're absolutely right. The Times. European judges block deportations in Rwanda. It said Britain is on a collision course with European judges as a result of the ruling, the Times reports. The paper quotes a government source saying one out of our European court judges has overruled days and days of debate on the UK courts. In other words, our courts don't count. European court. I don't want to be governed by a European court. I want to be governed by a British court that looks after British interests and understands the laws and rules of this fair island. And let me tell you now, and I said this to somebody who would jump on me for everything I almost say. But I said yesterday we have got the best form of government in as much we've got a constitutional monarchy. And they agreed. They agreed. We have a wonderful system of government. Yes, it's a mishmash, but it works like most mishmashes do, instead of being straitjacketed. Except that foreign, overseas, external courts are able to overrule what our own courts say. And the implications of this are enormous. But again, I say, we are not. I didn't think we were an institutionally racist country. But the way that people are talking about Rwanda is, you would think that we were sending people to the gulags or the concentration camps. Nothing could be further from the truth. Absolute rubbish and nonsense. The Guardian, European ruling throws Rwanda plan into chaos. Well, of course, the Guardian will it will revel in this. and he calls it a significant blow for Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Well, they can't wait to do that, can it? I'll tell you, I would hope that some of these things are going to feel a backlash so that Boris starts to get his popularity back. Oh, I know. He's made a pig's ear of so many things, but at least he has tried to do things. I always refer to the docudrama about the Kennedy administration. And there is a scene in that in which John Kennedy and Bobby Kennedy are in the White House looking at the people amassing uh, uh, to protest against Vietnam, and also the discriminatory practices of color in American society. And in that docudrama, Jack Kennedy says to Bobby as he looks out at the people amassed on the White House lawn, "Jesus, Bobby, what shall we do?" And Bobby says, "Oh, we always do, Jack. Nothing." And that is so much true of our leaders. And now we've got one who tries to do something and everybody's down his back. Well, I'm not. Sorry, Boris, you may be an asshole, but I'm you're my asshole, and I'm glad that you're trying to do something. And these other people who are full of condemnation that never, ever come up with any satisfactory alternative is absolutely astonishing that they go on and they pretend that they are in charge of humanity and they are a victory for. No, it's not a victory for anything. It's a victory for no common sense whatsoever. None. The Daily Express. Fury as Rwanda flight blocked. Well, the Express does tend to support the government, and it says Boris Johnson angrily threatened to ditch human rights laws and accused lawyers of abetting criminal gangs of people and smugglers. Well, he's right about that. That's who runs this trade of refugees coming across the channel. But if you're a nice liberal, stay at home and armchair barrack room lawyer is you don't want to hear that sort of thing. Oh no, certainly not. The eye, hundreds cross channel despite Rwanda threat, is that being sent to Rwanda isn't deterring people. And actually, of course, a lot of the people are out of parts of Africa. The refugees out of parts of Africa, and they know. He said they're not worried about being sent to Rwanda. It's always like going on holiday. The Financial Times. Well, it changes things. Is a Coinbase to cut almost a fifth of staff as the crypto crunch worsens. I'm not into cryptocurrency, but apparently it's hitting some sort of financial crisis. The sharp fall in the value of cryptocurrencies gives the Financial Times its front page. So the paper reports that Coinbase, an exchange where the digital currencies are traded, is cutting a fifth of its staff. The paper says the price drops and fall in trading volumes have rocked the industry. There you are. There's always get rich quick, wasn't it? The Sun, the Gypsy King exclusive. Training for ring comeback. Show me the money's call. Tyson Fury is ready to return to the ring at 200 million quid. Yeah, well, I would too. You can beat the living daylights out of me, and then I go and pick up the check. And the Daily Star is we've got. I love the Star. I mean, they do when I get angry as I am this morning. they bring back thoughts that we should have. 99 problems, they say, and the hot weather is apparently affecting the manufacture of chocolate flakes. So when you order your ice cream and you expect a little chocolate stick, chocolate flake in your 99, is the flake is not going to be there. We can't, for some reason, can't manufacture it. And the alarming heating news. Not only have weather boffins warned that temperatures will be so high they could kill, but Cadbury's has warned of a shortage of flakes for ice creams. Oh, the paper says we got 99 problems. So that's that's how the front pages look. The weather, as I've reported, is going to be 24 degrees, a slight breeze, but generally speaking, bloody hot out there. Yes, indeed, it is going to be hot out there. So be careful. And the local news is. Uh, I looked at the website that deals in local news, and apart from lost cats, which we don't get involved with, there doesn't seem to be anything that is startling. Started. They're still talking about the license for the gin and fizz uh, party, which took place on Saturday. So they're looking back with their headlines today. Not particularly informative. Right. Well, let's go to Jazz Frenchie. Why not? Jazz Frenchie from Ben Sound. Oh, and it is now 8 minutes past 8. We'll be with you for just another 3 or 4 minutes before we break off and then make way for Rouser. Well, this is Rouser Radio. We'll make way for Mirador Television, which starts its day with Break an Egg at 8:30. But we need to make way on the studio stands for it, so we normally quit at about 8:15. So 8:15 is well 5, 6, 7, another 7 minutes. So let's just look at some of the good bad. And in sports, of course, uh, we uh, uh, we see the same crowd reaction. I mean, people just don't think, do they? They really don't think. Is the cricketers were the worst in the world. awful. We hadn't won anything, so what, 13 matches, and we were just dreadful. And yesterday they pulled off a second series win in the. Well, they won the series with New Zealand because it's a three-match series, and we've now won two, and we won it in grand style. We were chasing what was considered to be dicey odds, but the players, particularly Johnny Bairstow, stepped up to the plate and really hammered the bowlers and the ball around the ground, and they came away with a five-wicket win. I shouldn't say unexpected, but having altered a few things since the defeats earlier in the year, the cricketers are now on a high. Poor Gareth Southgate. England lost 4-0 last night. They were carved to pieces by Hungary. And so they were carved to pieces. You know, the funny thing is that whenever you've played sport, you know very well you get that feeling that you're on a high, you're on a roll, and everything goes right for you, and it all goes wrong for the opposition, or vice versa. And in this particular case, it is the Hungarians scored very early on. They were on a roll, and England it became desultory and were taken apart. Now people want Gareth Southgate's head. After all the good things that he's done in bringing England back into some sort of competitive shape. Yeah, we need somebody to blame, don't we? What did we do? We went and we actually, well, some of the fans are very faithful. Some of the fans do actually make sure that their support is true fan support. But generally speaking, is people just revel in their own reflected glory of what the national team is doing. So we lost. We lost 4-0. My view is much the same as a view about Boris Johnson. Is Gareth Southgate has done one hell of a job. So he's going through a little bit of a bad period, either because of the players or because of the opposition, or who knows why. But get rid of him. Who are you going to bring in? Come on, who are you going to bring in? Very typical. Very typical. Get rid of him. Get rid of him. Who are we going to get instead? I haven't thought about that. No, just before the World Cup. Southgate has got a very, very good track record of success. And we want to dump him after 2 games? Okay, we've had a slow start. But that's happened to many, many teams before. They start off, get tanked in the early stages, and then emerge as the competitions increase, and they come out smelling like a rose, strong, viable, and if they don't actually lift the championship, what they do is they put on a very, very strong, performance throughout the tournament. Give him a chance. God's sake. I'm beginning to despair at the makeup of our society, of our community, of our country, of our nation. We become a nation of knockers. We try to find everything that's wrong instead of trying to find everything that's right. And there's a fair amount that we've got that is right. I say 13. I'm going to play. Oh, I love this one. Kind of Party by the Mini Vandals. I'm going to play this and then we'll say goodbye. Pandora Party by the Mini Vandals. I like that one. I really do. What do you think? And so it is 8:16. Well, it's still only 8:15 actually, but it's just about to nudge over to 8:16. There it is, 8:16. On the 15th day of June 2022, and this is Rouser Radio out of Lewes in East Sussex from the White Hart Hotel. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning for our little teaser to take you into our television service, Mirador Television, and its early morning program at 8:30, break an egg. Till tomorrow, let us say to you, toodle pip.